Good morning, dear students. Jai Swaminarayan. Today we will be starting with lesson number 2, History from Trade to Territory. In this chapter, we will learn that how East India Company that entered into India for trading became a ruler of our country. But before we start with our chapter, we should know that Indian history is divided broadly into three categories, which are as follows. Ancient history. In ancient history, we talk mainly about Indus Valley civilization, Vedas, and famous dynasties. Second is medieval history. It started with the coming of Muslims in 700 AD. And third is modern history. It deals with the coming of Britishers in India and the freedom struggle by Indians. Our chapter lies somewhere between medieval history and modern history. Aurangzeb was the last powerful Mughal emperor who established his control over a very large part of India. But after his death in 1707, many Mughal governors who were then known as Subedars and the big Zamindars established their own small kingdoms. Thus, Delhi lost its position of an effective center. So, now we know what exactly was going on in the 18th century. By that time, slowly but gradually, a new power known as the British started emerging in India. East India Company comes east. In 1600, the East India Company acquired a charter from Queen Elizabeth I, granting it the sole right to trade in East. With this charter, the company had no fear of competition as no other company of England could trade in East except the East India Company. With this charter, company could venture across new oceans, looking new lands for goods at cheaper rates such as spices, silk and cotton clothes, and sell them at higher price in Europe. But was it easy for East India Company to trade in East? No, when it entered India, it found some competitors who were already trading. They were the Portuguese who entered India in the year 1498 when Vasco da Gama discovered the sea route to India and reached Calicut. Even the Dutch arrived in Pulicat in 1595. Then came the French in Pondicherry in year 1664. This created a huge problem as the goods became more expensive, resulted into less earnings for the East India Company. Now, what did company do then? So, in order to safeguard its interests, each and every trading company entered into a trade war. So, they started sinking ships of their rivals, blocked routes, and fortified their trading posts. This also led to conflict with the local rulers. East India Company begins trade in Bengal. So, now we know that East India Company came to India for trading. The first English factory was set up on the banks of River Hooghly in 1651. The company made its warehouses and by 1696 it began building a fort around the settlements. It also got Diwani of three villages in 1698 with the help of some corrupt officers. One of the village was Kalikata, which is now known as Kolkata. Meanwhile, the company also persuaded Emperor Aurangzeb for Farman. It was similar to charter. This is also a written grant or order by the monarch. Mainly it is known as a royal order. This Farman granted the company the right to trade duty free. The officers started using Farman of duty free trade for their own side businesses too, which resulted in huge losses of revenue to the Nawab of Bengal. Murshid Quli Khan was Nawab of Bengal and was a strong ruler. who started protesting against this. Murshid Quli Khan was the first Nawab of Bengal. Then came Alivardi Khan, and his successor was his grandson Sirajuddaula. The new Nawab of Bengal refused to grant any concession to the Britishers and also demanded large tributes from the company. He also accused company of deceit by not paying revenue and trying to humiliate Nawab by writing disrespectful letters to him and his officials. He also stopped fortifications by the company. The rivalry between the company and Nawab intensifies as company declared that unjust demand of officials as could ruin its trade and enlarging its settlement was necessary to enhance its trade. This led to the Battle of Plassey. Battle of Plassey got its name from Palash tree. In 1756, Sirajuddaula became Nawab of Bengal after the death of his grandfather Alivardi Khan. He at once ordered Britishers to pay revenue and stop fortification. Also, with the help of his 30,000 soldiers, he captured the officials of the English factory at Qasim Bazar and also established his control over Calcutta's fort. All these incidents resulted into Battle of Plassey, in which Robert Clive, an army officer in East India Company, defeated Sirajuddaula. The main reason behind his defeat was that army led by Commander Mir Jafar never took part in the battle because Jafar was promised to be the next Nawab of Bengal by Robert Clive. Now, what happened after the Battle of Plassey? Mir Jafar became Nawab of Bengal. The company was granted undisputed right to free trade in Bengal. But after some time, when Nawab refused further rights, he was dethroned by the Britishers. And now, the next Nawab was Mir Qasim. After some time, he also started complaining of the misuse of the powers given to the company. This led to Battle of Buxar. So, once again, Mir Jafar came to the throne as Nawab of Bengal. This time he was asked to pay rupees 5 lakh per month to the company, but this was insufficient as it wanted more money to finance its wars. When Mir Jafar died in 1765, the company decided of becoming Nawab itself. So, in year 1765, the Mughal emperor declared company as the Diwan of Bengal province. The revenue it received through Diwani was of a great help, as they could now be used for buying cotton and silk and also building forts. This income was also important because after the Battle of Plassey, the income inflow from Britain had slowed down. Now, company officials they themselves become nabobs. As the company acquired more power and authority, the company officials began to imagine themselves as nabobs or nawabs. They wanted to lead a luxurious life like nawabs of India. Many of them were given huge lands and money by the local rulers in order to avoid any conflict with the company. Robert Clive, before becoming governor of Bengal in 1764, had become very rich in India. Because of this, he was cross-examined by the British Parliament in 1772 because the Parliament was suspicious of his vast wealth. Finally, he was acquitted from all the charges laid against him, but he committed suicide in 1774. Now company rule expands. East India Company had a different way of expanding its rule in India. It rarely launched direct military attack on any Indian territory. It used a variety of political and economic methods to extend its influence. For instance, it appointed residents in Indian states after Battle of Buxar. Now, the question arises, who were these residents? Residents were the political agents of the Britishers who served the interests of the company. Through them, the company started interfering in the internal affairs of Indian states. One such interference was subsidiary alliance. According to this, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent armed forces. They had to keep company's army and pay their maintenance. If they failed to do so, the part of their territory was taken away as penalty by the Britishers. In 1801, Lord Wellesley forced Nawab of Awadh to give over half of his territory due to non-payment of maintenance to the British Army. Same happened with Hyderabad also.